Welcome back to Golden Eagles Sports Report. Once again, I'm Meghan Rock.
And I'm Malaya Sago. We're now going to turn our attention to men's lacrosse. Last weekend, Marquette's men's lacrosse fell 15-11 in the Keystone State at Villanova. After moving to 1-1 in conference, the team returned to Valley Fields to prepare for their home match against the St. John's Red Storm. Dan Avington and Meghan Rock stopped by practice earlier this week to see how the team was preparing and even found out some new things about people that they did not know. About the squad, let's take a look.
Marquette men's lacrosse is known around campus for a lot of things. Their 60-person roster, top Major League Lacrosse prospects, and 2 Big East titles among them. But we asked the team a question many fans don't know the answer to. What are the best nicknames on the team?
Best nickname, definitely Beans. Johnny Holzman, 100%.
Why is it Beans?
Oh, he looks like Beans from Even Steven. Like on spot too.
I'd say no, Richard with cheese. He's always smiling, always cheesing.
I like Spike, Connor McCollin. Yeah, it's just kind of like a little tough nickname for a tough kid, I think. Right. Yeah.
Got to be no Richard with cheese, honestly. With those pearly whites that he has, obviously.
I would say Nick Singleton has the best nickname on the team, Singlebot. It's just the coolest nickname of all of them.
Cheese.
Why?
Because it's got a great foundation. I mean, it's about a guy smiling, and your goal in life is to be happy, and he's always camera ready. So why would that not be the best nickname?
Probably Luke Anderson. His nickname's Mama Luke because he always helps me out with everything and everyone. So he's kind of like a mom to all of us. So Mama Luke, Luke Anderson.
I would say Patrick Cassani. We call him Casino. Just kind of different, something that gets people thinking. So
Connor Marsh, and his nickname's Chicken.
Why?
I don't even know how it originated, but it's just hilarious. Everyone's been calling him Chicken since like the first week. So
I'm going with Chicken.
All right, why do you call him Chicken?
He looks like Chicken Little.
I'd say Beans.
All right.
Why Beans?
I don't know, it just suits him.
Connor Marsh, call him Chicken.
Why did you call him Chicken?
So at the beginning of the year, when he was at a restaurant at Soulman's and he ordered chicken fingers. He was the only person, so we call him Chicken.
Alongside Meghan Rock, I'm Dan Avington, Marquette Wire Sports.
Well, you definitely learn something new every day, and it sure looked like the guys had a great time filming. But the fun and games ended there. In business against St. John's, Darren Marquette walked away with a 12-8 victory over the Red Storm and moved in 2-1 conference play. On Saturday, it was the senior showdown on at Valley Fields. Shane Hogan was on hand to recap the action.
Senior days are always a special occasion in college sports, and Saturday was no different for the Marquette men's lacrosse team. The Golden Eagles took on their conference foe, the St. John's Red Storm, and defeated the Johnnies by a score of 12-8. Marquette was led by senior offensive midfielder Tanner Thompson, who scored 4 goals, and fellow senior John Wagner, who had 2 goals and 2 assists. The senior class, which includes 13 seniors, has accomplished a lot in their 4 years together. This class has won 2 Big East championships and helped solidify the Marquette men's lacrosse program.
This group has done so much for this place, and 2 Big East championships, been in the Big East tournament every year, have battled through a lot of tough times, and just done a great job and been great representatives of this institution. Just great human beings, and it's hard to see them coming to the end here, So I was humbled by who they are as people.
The game was back and forth in the opening quarter, and St. John's not only brought their game, but also their fans, which displayed that vintage New York charm. After the first quarter, Marquette went on a 6-0 run throughout the second quarter and completely took advantage of the young St. John's defense. Head coach Joe Amplo was happy with how the team played overall.
Great game. I mean, credit to St. John's for fighting hard and coming back in that third quarter. But just a good overall win. I thought our defense played better. Johnny Holzman stepped up in that first half and made up for some mistakes. And Thomas Washington had his day at the faceoff X. And I think those 2 players stood out and allowed us to play what we looked a little bit like what potentially we could look like if we could play a complete game.
After the Golden Eagles took the lead in the second quarter, they never looked back and picked up their second Big East win of the season. For the seniors, and Tanner Thompson especially, this was a perfect way to end senior day.
We're all really happy. We wanted the day to go well, and it did, obviously. So it went exactly how I would have wanted it to go. No better way to go out.
From Valley Fields, I'm Shane Hogan, Marquette Wire Sports.
And with Tanner Thompson's outstanding performance on Saturday against the St. John's Red Storm, the redshirt senior earned his second Big East Conference Midfielder of the Week. And with that, I now want to welcome in both of our men's lacrosse beat reporters, Dan Avington and Aimee Galaszewski. Great always having you guys on the show here in Studio 6.
Thanks for having us, Megan.
Always great to be here, Megan.
Awesome. Let's get right into it. Marquette's win over St. John's moved them to 2-1 in conference play. What were your overall thoughts on that matchup?
Well, overall, I was really impressed. I think they played well on both sides of the field, offensively and defensively. Also, the seniors really stepped up, especially on offense. We had Tanner Thompson, John Wagner. A bunch of different stuff was happening on offense, and I think it was because it was senior day. Everyone wanted to play well and do it for those seniors.
Yeah, it was a complete game. It was one of the first complete games that Marquette has played in a while, and we've talked to Coach Amplo a couple times, and he said that's not the kind of team that we think we're going to be at the end of the season. And this time was finally something that they were proud of. It was a product that they really wanted to see.
Great, and then you guys touched a little bit on the seniors. We know that they're a very accomplished class, having gone to 2 Big East titles and things along those lines. But which seniors, I know you mentioned John Wagner and Tanner Thompson, but any other seniors really stand out to you on senior day?
I thought the defense really stood out. The defense, it's Nick Grill, who's a junior, but then the other 2 guys, Brendan Connolly and Jackson Ellert, and Noah Richard is kind of a defender as well, even though he's a long stick midfielder. So those guys really stepped up in this game, and they were just, it was the defense that Coach Amplo is known for.
I would say Brendan Connolly was kind of like my hidden MVP. He made a lot of subtle plays that not a lot of people notice, but the transition plays really helped Marquette's offense get back into shape.
Great, and then going a little bit into the offense, Tanner Thompson and John Wagner, they scored a combined total of 6 goals, which is a lot for a game that wasn't that high of scoring. What can you really talk about with those plays? I know you guys were on the call for that game. Anything particular cutting move that stood out to you in the crease or anything?
You want to take this one?
Sure. So I think Tanner Thompson has really good field vision. Coach Amplo was saying he's one of those more quiet, reserved players that always knows what's going on, and he's one of those calming presences on the field where John Wagner's kind of the complete opposite. He's kind of like the playmaker, really loud, aggressive, and I think when you have that combination, you are set up for success, and I think that's exactly what happened on Saturday.
And building off of that, Tanner Thompson has some of the best stick skills in the league, and that's what a lot of guys know him for. So he's one of those guys that can make some magic happen when he has the ball on his stick. And Wagner, he's a bigger guy, so he's able to lean into his defenders a little bit more, and they have contrasting styles. And that's why, as a duo, they're so difficult to defend, because you can stop one guy, but you can't exactly stop the other with the same method.
Great, and you talked about both of those players and their stick skills, but they're both from Canada. Do you think a little bit of hockey has translated in there a bit?
I think it's a lot of the box lacrosse. It's a different style of play that they need to play because they're not out on the gigantic field.
Yep.
So it's a different style of lacrosse, and you can see that evident in their game.
Great, and then John Holzman has been really solid between the pipes. We've seen this in previous games. We know he's a transfer, but really what kind of asset has he been to this Marquette squad?
Going into this year, it was kind of questionable who was going to be goalie. There was kind of like 3 different options: John Holzman, Chris Rolfing, and Gabe Stein. But then we talked to Coach Amplo today, and he really thinks that John Holzman has it locked in. He makes a lot of acrobatic saves, I would say. He had 15 saves on Saturday, super impressive, and some of the saves were just shocking. There was one, he had the falling save when he just ended up on the ground and somehow still saved it. And so he's just been doing great, and I think he's really adjusted well from his transfer from Bellarmine.
Awesome, and then Thomas Washington was solid at that face-off X. Really, what worked well for him, and why was he so impactful?
He did everything a face-off guy needs to do. I mean, when he wasn't winning the clamp, which he did a lot of times, he was boxing the guy out, to borrow a basketball term. He was using his body to get in front of the ball and make sure that the St. John's guys couldn't get there. So he's able to use his vision, use his physicality, and he just did a really nice job of getting in front of everything.
Great, and then finally, guys, Marquette has some tough road games coming up. Notre Dame on Wednesday, Providence Saturday. What does Marquette need to do in order to walk away with a win on the road?
Notre Dame is the 12th ranked team in the nation. So they're a team that Marquette has never beaten before. They came really close last season, but fell in that one in the last minute or so, I believe. They were up 3 goals and gave those up. And Notre Dame's a team that prides themselves on defense. So the Marquette offense really needs to pick things up, and the defense just needs to continue that aggression that we saw this past week.
Oh, and then as far as Providence, this will be a very crucial game for Marquette heading into the Big East tournament. Providence actually just lost to Georgetown 15-17, but that's a pretty high-scoring game. So they're definitely hungry for goals. They're going to take that into this game on Saturday. So I think Marquette really needs to crack down on defense and stop. They have 2 really important guys. They have Nick Hatzipatroklis, and then they have Brendan
Kearns.
Brendan Kearns, sorry, I almost forgot. So they really need to crack down on those guys.
Well, great. And then I appreciate you guys being here and giving all your great insights. I'm sure we'll catch up with you next week after these big matchups. But we're going to take a quick break.